Call the meeting to order. Can we have roll call, Anne Marie?
Councilmember Kemp. Here. Councilmember Renagi.
Here.
Councilmember Whalen.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones. Here. Mayor Orgill.
Here. Thank you. Can we please rise and join me in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any additions or deletions, City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to recommend that I believe it's item number 10, which is the Playhouse lease, that be continued, but we'll wait until that item comes up. And then with consent of the city attorney, at some point you'll want to pull up, maybe start early on the continuance, which is Appeal A, and open that public hearing and close that public hearing. And Megan and I didn't get a chance to talk, but if that's appropriate to do now.
Mr. Mayor,
Would you like to open that public hearing now or after we get
for
the appeal?
for Appeal A,
Yes.
customarily when we have a proposed continuance for the appeal, we bring it forward to the beginning of the meeting in order to not have everyone wait around to see what's going to happen. So if you'd like to do that, you're certainly welcome to do that now.
Okay, great. Then I will open the public hearing for Appeal A and open it for public comments. Are there any comments regarding the Appeal A? None? Then I'll close public testimony. Did you have a comment, Bob? I closed the public comment.
Yeah. So I had a call from Ann Christoph this afternoon. There's been some back and forth emails on this appeal and what kind of historic reports are we going to get? And I think rather than just continue this and then end up with a big argument on February, whatever it's going to be, can we, I see Matt's coming forward, Matt Schneider, can we just have a little discussion about where we are with these historic reports and what's going to happen?
Good evening, Matt Schneider, Director of Community Development. So the project has had a number of historic reports. However, the applicant has commissioned a new report which city staff have not seen. And so the appropriate path forward would be, once we receive that, we typically have it peer reviewed. I think there's been some questions about who will peer review this new report. I would recommend that we not predetermine that until we get a chance to see what's been submitted. And certainly we could make it available to all parties that are interested.
I think part of the debate, right, was apparently there's now going to be a whole new report from the applicant that supersedes or is in addition to the first report the applicant commissioned.
That's my understanding. It's going to supplement what was previously provided.
So I think the point of Ann's email and then subsequent call to me was, and I think Anthony Vieira responded to it in somewhat, but the original HRG consultant did a certain amount of work, based on a scope of work. The city, and that was a city consultant, we hired them. And then I guess we got a peer review from GPA of the HRG report. And the GPA stated, well, HRG doesn't provide sufficient comparative analysis to reach some of the conclusions. And I think the request of the appellants really is, well, give HRG a chance to respond to, the GRG, because they had a constrained scope of work and they ought to be able to kind of defend their work. And it sounds like we're not proposing to do that.
I wouldn't characterize it that way. I would just say we are not received a new report, so we haven't predetermined the review path, but certainly if it's appropriate to have HRG review it, that's what we will do.
Well, I think, no, it's not HRG reviewing the new report that's coming in. HRG did a report. GRG responded to the HRG report and basically said, you haven't done a complete analysis, right? And I think the point the appellants were making, and I'm just trying to make sure we all air this out so we,
Sure.
know what we're dealing with on the 26th. They're saying, well, HRG made a determination that there was a historic resource here. GRG comes back and says, nah, you didn't really do enough comparative analysis to reach that conclusion. The appellants, I think, are saying HRG ought to have a chance to respond to I'm getting all these GPA study where they were calling the HRG conclusions, into question. Not that they were saying they were wrong, it's just saying they didn't do enough scope of analysis to reach the conclusion they reached. And from my perspective, I think when you undertake a piece of work and you provide some conclusions and then somebody comes in peers review and critiques it, it just makes sense to me that you'd have an opportunity to respond to the critique. And I gather that staff's decided that's not going to happen. So that's what I wanted to air out up here before we just continue this thing.
I share those same concerns, Bob. And personally, I would like to see HRG's response to the concerns raised.
Any other comments from council? So Dave, how would you like to
Well,
proceed on?
Matt, was HRG hired on our dime or the applicant's dime, the initial applicant's dime? Do you remember?
That dates back a while, so I'd have to go back and
It was city. I just had a chance to review Anthony's email, so it was.
It was city initiated from the
city
first place.
initiated, yeah. I think
which is likely what largely drove the decision not to incur an additional review when we've had two competing reports. But certainly we can do that.
So Matt, you're open to or agreeing to run the GPA one by HRG? Is that what you're saying? As well as to release the latest one, the new one that we haven't seen yet, to the public for anybody to critique? Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. There's no concerns to doing that. I will say there's a lot of acronyms out there, these different firms. At some point, we're going to have a lot of competing opinions and people wanting to respond to their competing opinions, right? So it becomes a circular effect, but I could fully appreciate the original reviewer wanting the opportunity to rebut it.
Is GPA or HRG, both of whom, as I understand it, were hired by the city, one for the peer review, one for the original report. Are they going to be here as part of at the hearing to answer questions?
We can certainly request that they're available. And again, that would be at the city's expense.
Because it seems like, I don't know what we typically do, but it seems like that's going to be like the fundamental question at play is the competing historic reports.
I think it would be a good idea. I think you raised a good point. We're going to have multiple competing reports.
Yeah.
We're just going to inevitably have questions, and we should have somebody here to answer them.
So I know Matt will say we've got to work on the budget for that, and we will, but just it does sound like this is one of those instances where we'll probably have lots of folks commenting on it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I think it makes sense. Their opinion was specifically influenced by the lack of information that they referred to, so I think it makes sense. So, okay.
Okay.
So we have clear direction on that then? Do we need a motion or?
I want to be really clear that it's not necessarily, for me, HRG having an opportunity to review this latest report. It is HRG having the opportunity to respond to the concerns raised by GPA in their peer review of the initial report.
Exactly.
I appreciate that. And that's my understanding as well. Is that yours, Matt, too?
Yes, and we can facilitate that. Obviously we have a very positive relationship with all our consultants. So we will make that opportunity happen for them.
Great. So again, Steve, do we need a motion for this or?
We do need a motion, Mr. Mayor, to continue the item as recommended on the agenda to, and I don't want to misquote it, February
Can't we just move the
Yeah,
recommended
move
action?
the
Just move the recommended action.
So I would move that we continue the hearing on Appeal A to February 24 and direct staff to have HRG respond to the GPA critique of its initial report.
And to have them both be able to be here at the hearing.
Yes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Do we have any speakers this evening? Please approach the dais.
Hello, thank you, City Council, for serving. My name's Lisa Vanderbeek, and I'm here on behalf of Arch Beach United. We are asking that you not rubber stamp the pump track at Molten Meadows without further information being gathered. We attended the meeting for the Recreation Committee yesterday at the Suzy Q, and we felt bullied. It appeared they didn't seriously consider any of the other sites that they had proposed. They are determined that this is the site. They don't have statistics. We have 2,300 kiddos in our school district. How many of them live in Arch Beach Heights and TOW? How many of them can access that fire road and use that pump track without supervision? So the Boys and Girls Club has a great area behind it that has funding for littles. And perhaps Thurston is a place to look for older kiddos. A lot of the parents who are advocates said, our kids don't need supervision. Well, if they don't, why not utilize the existing bike trails that so many mountain bikers use now? And it was surprising to us that a volunteer committee can negatively impact an entire neighborhood, lower property values, and create so much disruption. So again, just please don't rubber stamp it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Gary Jenkins on the Playhouse Board, and I just wanted to say that tomorrow Eisenhower play is beginning and will end on the February 1st. If any of you saw Eleanor last year, you know it was fabulous, and I expect the same treat for this one, so I encourage everybody to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Happy New Year. I know it's not too late to say that. Brittany with the Chamber, just wanted to say I hope that we'll see everyone at our annual board installation coming up on the 28th, Wednesday, 5:30 to 7:30 at Mozambique. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Kevin Harrison. I'm here to talk a little bit about the promenade construction. I'm 100% for.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Hi, sorry about that. That's on the consent calendar if you'd like to pull it.
But
when
this
that's-
it's in regards to the aesthetics of it. Can I talk about that here for 2 minutes?
It would be appropriate to talk about it when the item
Just a few more
comes
minutes.
up. Yeah, a few more
Okay.
minutes.
All right.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Good evening. Thank you for your action on the item A. I didn't even have to speak. I appreciate it. I'm testifying about trees tonight, and it has to do with 775 Cliff Drive. And it is, I hope, still there, a Phoenix canariensis, Canary Island date palm, beautiful, in the public right-of-way. Requires a permit from the city to remove it. And the hearing on the permit is supposed to be noticed to the interested parties list, which I'm on, which Ruben is on, and a number of other people are on. And we did not get noticed. And we found out that community development has a separate list of their own, which is not called out in the ordinance. And we haven't been able to find out what action was taken. and we haven't been able to find out the recourse to protect this tree. And I'm hoping that we will be able to save it. I think beautiful trees in the public right of way, the first priority would be to save them, not to remove them, because the adjacent property owner thinks it's too expensive to maintain them. If that's an issue, we should talk about it. Maybe we need another city maintained tree, but we shouldn't be approving removing those trees. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager, would you like to address that question now or after public comments?
I'll take a note and address it at the end.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Larry Zeman, Los Robles. I was here in both the July and October sessions where we took a look at the city tree policy and view blockage. For me, there's eucalyptus trees at the Glenary parking lot that block my view. And it's the view of the Hotel Laguna and Main Beach, and I talked about it. I don't have any more photos. I had lots of photos the last 2 times I was here. But we do want to address the downtown specific plan, which hopefully we can put up on the screen. I sent an email that had some excerpts from the plan. And in a word, it's very clear from the downtown specific plan that the city policy is to value the views and to protect them both by tree selection and maintenance. However, if we go to the next PDF that I have, the current city arborist has the exact opposite point of view. In the second page from his memo says that pruning public trees for the sole purpose of view enhancement is not recommended. So the impact on me, in 2020, I had the last proper city trim to preserve my views. In the ensuing 6 years, there is now a wall of eucalyptus that completely blocks my view. I hope the city will address this. We want to work with the city in any way we can to deal with this issue. And we are open to it. We're around, and if there's any thought to contact us, please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. To follow up on that, I'd like to share a video and a PDF, please. My name is Richard Plavitich. So the first item here is a video. There are some serious liability issues associated with some large trees on city property. So in this video recorded by a dash cam on December 24th, a large tree branch collapsed on a northbound PCH near Clio. The city dodged substantial liability in this instance. Had this occurred 30 seconds earlier or later, it could have been another story. As is, PCH was closed for several hours to clean up the debris. If we can go on to the PDF, please. So the very same day in San Diego, a man was killed by the collapse of a city-owned tree. A lawsuit was filed by his family against the city 6 days later. So this is clearly a very serious issue concerning our city with so many large trees on public thoroughfares. So if we can go on to the next page, please. To go to Larry's point, I had a look at the trees concerning us adjacent to the Glenary parking structure the other day. As you can see, there is dense foliage. The tree trunks are encroaching on adjacent planter walls and walkways from their small planter spaces. Are these safe conditions for the community? Will the root balls impact the parking structure integrity or any potential structure expansion? Next page, please. I would urge the city to rethink their approach to tree trimming, maintenance, and species selection to preserve views, and more importantly, the safety of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other speakers?
Good evening, council members, managers, Mr. Mayor, the attorney, city manager. My name is Kathleen Monroe, and I'm here to talk about the expired permits at the Laguna Playhouse. And we all know the city of Laguna Beach has a reputation for probably being one of the strictest cities for code compliance and enforcement. However, not such is the case with the Laguna Playhouse. So there should be nothing more important than the safety of the public when it comes to city-owned building. The fact that the Playhouse was gifted the land, transferred the ownership to the city of Laguna Beach as they wanted to be nonprofit in 501(c)(3). The lease states that the Playhouse assumes all liability for constructions, improvements, and maintenance. Yet the Playhouse is not code compliant. And how can this be? I emailed all of you copies of permits now expired pulled by Delish Patel, general contractor hired by the Laguna Playhouse, who filed a permit application, received the permit to address the stairs that were altered after the Playhouse removed the orchestra pit and decided to reconfigure the theater, add 3 new rows in a space that previously was the orchestra pit, and to add 65 seats. It was done hastily without permits and was not to code. How is it the city of Laguna Beach is known for these strict codes, yet has turned a blind eye to the hazardous condition in the Playhouse and has yet to make the stairs, the rise, the run, and landings code compliant? The Playhouse was put on notice in 2014 in May when an elderly person fell and the play was stopped and an ambulance called. It was reported on Yelp as a warning that the stairs are steep, uneven, and dangerous, especially for the elderly. So when the Playhouse was on notice and then proceeded with hiring CalAmerica, who's a general contractor in Laguna Beach, to apply for the permits, and that was done in July following them being put on notice, but yet the work was never done. Maria Ring, who works at the building department in Laguna Beach, in the permit department, confirmed the permits expired. When I was there, the incandescent light was out on row C, the steepest stair, which is where I fell on the concrete, sustaining many injuries and went out in a wheelchair. No one who goes out, we all work hard, and no one should have to leave in a wheelchair or an ambulance and be impacted injuries. I sent the permits that had expired, and they were to remove the existing stairs and treads that were added after the orchestra pit was removed. The work was never done. It's still a hazard. And in the city of Laguna Beach, that is not to code and hazardous. I mean, of all buildings, this building that's owned by the city should be code compliant, and it's not. And I beg you to do something about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other speakers? Any? Okay, we'll close public comments and I'll bring it back to council for, are there any updates or comments from city council members? Dave?
Can I go through a few things, Mr. Mayor? First, to Ann Christoph's point, and unfortunately, we learned today the tree's been removed. We had issued a permit to remove it and then sent them notification saying we'd like them to hold off. We did this before Christmas, hold off until we were able to reconnoiter and renotice and have the discussion with a larger group of people. But when one of our staff went by today or yesterday, the tree's gone. And I of course apologize for that. We do, as Ann's pointing out, we have some confusion as to who's keeping what lists. We do have lists, but some people think they're on one, which covers public trees in the public right-of-way versus private trees in the public right-of-way, and we need to fix that and make it much more simple. So we all talked about making sure we do that. It may involve a code change or two, but either way, there should be one list that people are on for trees, and they should be notified whenever class 1, class 2, or class 3 or a other public tree is involved in or is proposed to be removed. So that's on our task list. The person who talked about the Playhouse permits, I may have missed that email, and I promise to follow up on it. I wasn't aware that there was a situation with expired permits on the Playhouse. So I appreciate your bringing that to my attention. I had a couple other things I wanted to talk about, not involving public comment. The city has been communicated with a number of times about the Villa Rockledge. And just so the council is aware of this, because I keep them apprised of it, but we have contacted the owner. We've asked the owner to update a trespass letter so that we can enforce anti-trespassing rules on the Villa Rockledge. To my knowledge, as of 5 o'clock today, that trespass letter has not been renewed yet, and that's frustrating. The owner did say he's attempting to get to the bottom of the social media influencers that are trespassing on that private property and potentially damaging that national historic resource. So just know we take that very seriously and are moving in other pathways too. One public commenter mentioned the pump track meeting last night. I wanted to make sure that the council was aware. There was probably 250 people there. It was one of the biggest meetings I've ever seen in Laguna Beach. I really appreciated how the rec chair, Gwen McNally, handled it, and the rec team. I respect that. I didn't see folks feeling bullied, but I did see some strong emotions in the room, and I was appreciative that just about everybody got to say their piece. And then that's not the final action, right? That's a recommendation that will come to you. The recommendation was to focus on the Molten Meadows site, but only if a number of different tasks are completed beforehand and different things are, I'll use the word mitigated, and then to potentially look at other sites. So that comes here next for some other discussion. Lastly, I just mentioned that the council has its strategy session planned for Friday, January 30th. We need to pick a time. It'll probably be about 8:30. And hopefully be done by right after lunchtime. This is your annual strategy session. Topics would include the recap of our 2025 efforts, and then we'll focus right on 2026. I'll talk about some fiscal sustainability concepts for the city. I'll talk about a city charter. We'll talk about updating our general plan and LCP. We'll talk about the facilities management plan, including, I wanted to focus a little bit on options for our emergency operations center. And then, of course, council members, if anything else you'd like to see addressed at that meeting, please let me know. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
In response to Richard and Larry's comments about the view issue with the trees over on the Glen Eyrie parking structure, remind me where we're at with that. It was brought to council some time ago and we were evaluating it.
So we had a couple of action items last time, and one was actually Mr. Trevino had asked us to focus on the montage at least. And so Reza and Mark with Public Works are keeping me updated on that. We do need to, though, have the difficult discussion with you all about what to do with some of our larger, older trees and what the general plan and LCP say, and then what our practice is. So that hasn't been right at the front of my burners, but it's been close. So please ask me again. I'll give you a report back next time.
In the meantime, would it be worth having the arborist take a look at the language in the downtown specific plan? So
I can always ask the arborist to review language. Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just briefly follow up on the city manager's comments about Via Rockledge. The city's also, in addition to the trespassing process, the city's trying to go through a receivership process. Somewhat of a lengthy process. The property has been actually posted. It's at kind of the tail end. One of the last steps is posting the property and serving the interested parties, so not just the property owner, but anyone has a financial interest in the property. And code enforcement has done that this week, actually. And so even if the trespass path forward doesn't work, this is an alternative path we're pursuing, and we're close to hopefully being able to go to court to receive that order.
Thank you. Councilmember Sue?
Yeah, that'd be good because there's a lot of TikTok videos on, this is ridiculous. Anyway, thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation I'm just going to give you, pass out to the Council for the Arts from the Arts Commission. We had an Arts Commission meeting last week, and this is their year in review. They've just done a lot of really excellent work, and they wanted me to pass that along to you. They're also going to put it up, I think, in the arts section of Stu News. But so they engaged 530 artists in programming this year, and They have approximate attendance of 250,000 people attending all these different functions over the course of the year. And 94.7% of the Arts Commission program budget was paid directly to artists. So in terms of trying to, as best we can, with all of our efforts to promote and sustain the arts community, I think they've done a really excellent job.
Thank you. Alex,
I have no report. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Hallie,
No report.
Bob?
Just one follow-up question on the Villa Rockledge. I know we're pursuing multiple approaches there, but we had a similar situation down at Anita with Mike Gray's residence where people, kids were trespassing on, and it was dangerous. And we actually fenced it off. And then I know the chief had extra patrols down there, basically chasing people out. So have we done any of that?
Councilmember, we have on the beach side put up a fence. I can't remember what Marine Safety called it, but they put up a fence and said no trespassing on which is from the TikTok videos. What we were seeing, that's the access point.
They're accessing.
We haven't done that from the street side, but we can look into that, certainly.
Well, we just may want some patrols down there. Nothing further.
Thank you. Okay, I'll give my list of meetings over the last several weeks. I met with Michael Hawk and David Brown. We both, all parties visited the pump track together down in San Clemente, which I thought was very nice to be present with both sides as we viewed that particular facility. I met with Jeff Randolph, Bob Whalen, and Mark Christie, Joan from the school board, Kathy Yerka, Glenn Schrank, Ben and Enoch from Laguna Film Festival, Maya from NCC, Ken Robertson, Mitch Ritter, Steve Brown, Ed Almanza, Sue Whiting, Adam from the Arts Commission, Joe Hanauer, Doug Wilson, Craig McKester, Newth Morris, Billy Freed, Rick Conkey, Jeff Rodner, and Mary Stone, Evan from SWA. I attended an FOA board meeting. We had a stewardship staff meeting. We had the staff give us an update on the economic development progress. I attended a CLT, Community Land Trust Board meeting, and we also had our weekly promenade meeting. That concludes my list. So we will now move on to a bit of a different situation this evening. So we're going to actually open a public hearing on agenda item number 12, which is the underground utility. Let me get to it here. So this is the public hearing and balloting for proposed underground utility assessment district 20213 Fairview and La Brea. So we will have a staff presentation, and then we will open to public comments after.
Mayor, in the meantime, I see some people that are from the district that just walked in. They may not be quite aware of what we're doing here.
Okay.
They just walked in.
We are going to have a presentation on the underground utility district. And then we will open the floor to public testimony.
And Mr. Mayor, the reason why we do this, so this has been called up earlier in the meeting, is so that our Public Works team can count the ballots and then report back by the end of the meeting as to whether or not this passed or not.
Good evening, City Council. Pierre Sawaya, your Capital Program Manager. With me is Christian Sanford, Project Manager in Public Works. We're here to present the public hearing and balloting for Assessment District 2021-3 Fairview La Brea. Just some brief background on the project. On October 28th of last year, City Council took action adopting the resolution of intent to form the district. At that time, the engineer's report was preliminarily approved, and that really kickstarted the balloting process. So on November 7th, ballots were officially mailed out to property owners who reside within the district. Since that time, staffs maintain communication with property owners through mailers, updates to our project webpage, and also working with property owners to provide replacement ballots where needed. Also on October 28th, the City Council took action to approve contributions to the project. This included $475,000 as a general benefit cost to the project and a separate city contribution also of $475,000. So if the project has a weighted majority in favor of the district tonight, City Council is being asked to appropriate $949,000 from the Wildfire Mitigation and Fire Safety Fund. We also received some minor comments from Councilmember Whalen on the two resolutions. I just wanted to bring those revisions before you here tonight. They're relatively minor. On the formation resolution, Section 5A was revised, the section shown in red, to read that parcels that will have a special benefit conferred upon them. And then on Section 5B, there was simply a typo. So instead of entirely, we're changing that word to entirety of the cost of construction of improvements. So again, very minor changes, but we just want to make sure that's brought before you. And then on both the resolutions, again, grammatically capitalizing the P for project for this specific Fairview La Brea project. So we'll make those changes before you if the project is approved. And that brings us to our laundry list of recommendations. So it includes receiving this report tonight on the district, opening the public hearing for public comments, calling for the submittal of any final ballots, and then closing the public hearing. Then direct staff to proceed with tallying the ballots in conference room A and postponing this item until the tally is complete, and then resuming the meeting with the results of the ballot tally. If the majority of the weighted ballots are in favor of forming the district, council is being asked to adopt the two resolutions. One is declaring the results of the assessment balloting. The other is awarding a construction contract for the work. Council is also being asked to appropriate, as earlier discussed, the $475,000 for the general benefit cost, $475,000 for the city contribution, and also authorizing the city manager to approve construction change order expenses in an amount not to exceed $281,000. Or if there is not a majority of the weighted ballots in favor of the district tonight, City Council would declare that the district is abandoned for lack of majority support. And that concludes this presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from council? None? Okay, the public hearing is open and I'll ask for public comments. Are there any public comments on this matter? None? Okay, we will call for, are there any final ballots to be submitted? None? Okay, then staff, you could proceed to conference room A, please, and the public is invited to attend the counting of the ballots.
Mr. Mayor, could we please close the public?
Oh, I'm sorry. Public hearing is officially closed at this time. Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Are there any items that anybody would like to pull from the consent calendar?
7 and 9, please.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I think
Oh, I'm-
someone from the public.
Are there any
Did you have any?
public comments? Okay, thank you. None. Do you want to make a motion, Alex?
I don't, 6 wasn't pulled, right?
I would just move approval of 1 through 6 and 8.
And 8, okay. I'll second that.
All approved?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, item number 7. Bob, did you have a question regarding that?
I think I'd like some discussion on this item, and maybe we can just get a brief staff report. And I think Greg O'Loughlin's here. I think he wanted to make a comment on it as well.
Good evening, Council. Matt Schneider, Director of Community Development. So this item relates to an amendment to an easement agreement. This was an easement that was established on Monterey, and it's adjacent to 31131 Monterey Street. More specifically, it was established under the county jurisdiction and was subsequently quitclaimed to the city. In essence, the property owner is prohibited from parking in front of their garage, which serves as a driveway area. Adjacent to that is a demarked public access way to a beach trail, to Aliso Creek Beach. Initially, the property owner approached the county thinking that the easement was still held by them, and actually went through a pretty extensive process and was close to getting it approved by the county when it was discovered it was quitclaimed over to the city. They pivoted their efforts. City staff has been helping them. We've reviewed it with fire, police, public works. No issues were raised about removing this parking restriction. In essence, it'll create a driveway space that's partially on their property and partially in the right of way. There have been some comments received concerning the easement earlier today, particularly with fire access. Again, the fire department has reviewed this, didn't raise any issues. I'm happy to answer any questions, and obviously I think there's some public comments on the item as well.
So I don't know if we're able to pull up on page 51 of the staff report. There's kind of maybe a helpful visual, just so we all know what we're looking at.
Anne Marie, are you able to work on that or help us with that? Page 51, I guess. We appreciate it.
While she's pulling that up, I should note one additional item, which is a separate discretionary permit for DRB approval for a deck and spa were considered by the Design Review Board in early December. The local appeal period for that expired January 2nd. It's under Coastal Commission appeal window right now for 10 business days. But this is completely separate to that item. It's not required parking for any project. This is simply to remove the easement restriction regarding parking.
And the easement went on originally when it was county-owned property, correct?
That is correct.
So do we know what the original purpose of the easement was, or why it went on?
My understanding is it was to preserve beach access. And again, there is a access pathway that's accommodated on the Monterey Street. It would basically, it's less than the green area that's denoted on the slide above you. I'm terrible with colors, colorblind, sorry. The red pinkish color is the area where the easement would be removed immediately adjacent to the property's garage. Parking would be permitted there. The green area would remain open. That's a minimum width of 17 feet. That was requested as the dimension from the fire department should they need to access the trail. They felt that was sufficient.
So is there, so I get it, he'll have access through a driveway into the garage. Is there on-street parking there that?
Not that section. Monterey, this is sort of a short dead end spur that comes off of Monterey. It really just serves this and I believe one other home. This is at the dead end portion of that. When you get on to Monterey, the extension off of this on-street parking is permitted, and that would be the closest available place for themselves or guests to park.
Okay, well, I know our fire inspector and fire chief are here. I'd like to hear from the fire department as to their, I mean, it sounds like this is a dead end, right? And it's down to 17 feet. That's, we kind of the same issue we had last week. It's not a full 20-foot width like we like to have as a standard. So I'm good if maybe Robert could just give us his thinking on that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thank you. Councilmember Wellens, great question. Excuse me, I personally have been there, and I've also taken one of our frontline staff as well to give it a full assessment, evaluation of the situation. The small road that is probably less than 100 feet to the frontage of that property, of that home at 31131 Monterey Street, less than 150 feet from the main road of the Monterey Street itself. So, and also looking at the grade of that road, when engine does respond for either an EMS or a structure fire, there's no way that we would pull an engine into that small dead-end road for a couple of reasons. One is that primary reason is there's no viable turnaround space for an engine. And second reason is that road is less than 150 feet in depth, if you will, where we wouldn't, and third is the actual angle of approach. It would be difficult to pull an engine in there and back out absent of a viable turnaround space. And the only other vehicle, emergency vehicle that we could possibly pull in there would be an ambulance for transport and an EMS call. And with the 17 feet wide, there's plenty of space for an ambulance to get down there, transport a patient and bring them back up the hill. Other than that, normally I would say 99.9% of the times, there would be no emergency vehicle accessing that small little side road.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Alex? So did you have a,
No, those are my questions.
wanting to amend the motion, or you're okay
Well, I
with
think
it?
we got to go to the public, but.
Okay.
yeah.
Are there any comments on this issue?
Good evening, Council. Greg O'Loughlin, speaking for the South Dakota Civic Association tonight. It's fun, the history on this property. It was originally a county road that was used to access Monterey during the construction of the Coast Highway in 33. A question outside of my comments, is this going to be private parking or is it going to be public parking? I believe it's going to be private parking, and that's kind of where we're aiming for. It was a road, and in my 40 years, it's always been utilized as Coast Royal Tracks kind of emergency exit. More than 200 homes are in that track, and if it's closed at Monterey, which it has been, it's a very, very narrow gap right where it meets at West. It's an emergency exit. So it's not so much a matter of fire trucks concerned to get in there. They're going to fight from Monterey, that's fine. For us, it's a safe, comfortable feeling that if we're dammed up at a neck, we can still get out on this dirt road. With the county, it was a dirt road. County transferred it to OC Parks County, and they called it a trail, but they maintained it at 15 feet wide. It's usually 20 feet wide. And then when the city took it over, it was a trail according to the county's inheritance. Each step of the way, the Civic Association always fought it, supported to say, keep this available to us as a quick exit if we need it. It was utilized during our firestorms here when things were closed. It's been utilized a couple times by neighbors. It's almost like a Jeep access. It's not something you want to take your car on, but if you've got your computer locked up and there are flames behind you, it's a really, really good exit. So it's an emergency exit to us. When this house came to, it's a long history on 4 properties that the city made into 3, 1 unbuildable, 2 buildable properties. The developer of this property at the time, not the current owner, chose to put their house right onto the property line. They chose at that time to not have parking in front of their house. They lobbied for 3 parking spaces. They got those 3 parking spaces. Some strange feedback, sorry about that. And each step of the way, we were holding to maintain that as an emergency exit to get out. There's no fence, there's no gate, there's nothing to prevent you from getting out down to the Aliso Beach parking lot. So that's my key. they purchased a home. I'm sorry they paid so much for it. They shouldn't get a private driveway on public access when we look at that as a sacred emergency access for at least 200 residents. So, thank you.
Can I ask a question? Greg, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea about what the width of the road is beyond this portion of it? Because it's my sense that it's a lot narrower.
Oh, it changes
right?
seasonally. Yeah.
So it would, I guess the crux of the question is, would this change the access, or in your view, if it's consistent with other, 'cause, a road's only functional to the degree that the whole road is wide enough, right? And a car would still be able to go on this road even with this easement, right? If the car was parked in the area that we're describing.
If we had good neighbors that parked only in the space that they were given allowed to, but so far they've utilized the space as their private driveway. And I don't expect that behavior to change. They don't have, it's true, what you're saying, down the way it gets narrower.
Yeah.
The city recently improved it, so they backfilled a bunch of the holes and stuff, became 15 feet. On paper, I believe it's 20 to 15 feet all the way down to the Aliso parking lot. So it's quite wide, but plants get in the way, nature gets in the way, and we love it because it's a great hiking path, it's nice. But technically, if they were to fill that red box with their private use on public land, we could still squeak by. Is that going to be the condition during an emergency? Is that going to be the condition when they have one of their parties, when their trash cans are out? They've built walls into the right of way without permit. They've done a variety of things that have been not good neighbors. So right away, hair gets up on our back when we see a taking of public land. We think, no, we're going to stand for it. We're going to defend it. And if we have to over-defend it a little bit, I think that's appropriate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other speakers?
And Christoph, I just want to support everything that Greg just said. This is a historical access route that the legend is that it was part of Coast Highway before Coast Highway was built. And it's shown as a public road on maps of that area. And so it's not a dead-end road. It's a connector to Aliso parking lot. And that is an effective exit. The exit for that community is only West Street, which is to the south by quite a bit, maybe a mile and a half or a mile. And so all those, you have the Bluebird situation where they have only one way out. This one at least has a second way out. And I don't think we should be compromising it. We shouldn't give up any of the road, the narrow road that we have, because someone chose a certain design for the house that didn't allow for a private driveway. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional speakers on this item? Okay, I will close public comment and bring it back to council. Any comments?
So how many cars would park in this or could park in this shaded area?
I believe it would facilitate the parking for 2 vehicles.
2 vehicles. I mean, part of the reason I wanted to pull this and have this conversation. So it sounds like it's not a fire, from Robert did a good job of answering the fire they can pull. It's within 150 feet. That's the normal, range. They can pull hoses and fight fires. So it's really an evacuation question. And, when we had the appeals last week that came up in Bluebird, I just think we need to get to a point as a community where we're not compromising, 20-foot evacuation routes in areas that have limited evacuation routes, and or if somebody wants to develop a home like this person did, figure out a way to get your cars on your property. Don't ask us to put it in the right of way or take a 17-foot right of way instead of a 20 or 25-foot right of way. So, I don't know, it's interesting. I guess the property owner's not here tonight to speak, but One thing I did talk with Pat Donegan today about is at a minimum, I think if we're going to approve this, we ought to put a condition in that we, in certain emergency conditions or conditions deemed appropriate by the city manager, we could, like a red flag parking day, that we could make it a no parking zone or, say you can't park here. So that may be a compromise, but the bigger picture is in my view, we should just stop doing this. Figure out how you're going to get your parking on your property and keep the full right of way. So we have, full fire access and we're not having to do alternative means and methods and we're safer.
So I think you bring up a very good point. And I'll just throw in a quick comment. I also think that we need to be a little bit more cautious with our revocable encroachment permits, but that's just my opinion. So Alex, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so I guess I'm still trying to understand. So, I mean, I've used this a lot and I think it's very visionary that in South Laguna, we have these trails where you're able to really, go in a way that you would not otherwise be able to go, that you can, walk from South Laguna and be able to go to Aliso. I mean, now we have sidewalks on Coast Highway, so that, but still it's just a very cool thing that we have these public access routes. And, I would never do anything that would undermine the ability to have public access, but I'm still trying to understand the legislative history of why this easement, and I guess it had to do with maybe a condition of approval for this development, as Greg was alluding to, but access I would assume already existed at this area, because it's just the precedent. So why was it just adjusted in 2017? And it seems like the legislative purpose was for public access. So I don't know, does anyone have further insights about the specifics of that?
I don't have the full chronology, but again, this originated under the county's jurisdiction. And my understanding from reviewing files is this had always been a designated county right-of-way.
Yeah.
And then when this project came forward circa 2017, the development of this portion of the road was established with the easement documents under the county's jurisdiction. The remaining portion remains right-of-way. And it sounds like from testimony, it's been considered historically as a emergency access way, but I think it's largely utilized and categorized as a trail under its existing use. But the right-of-way from the original county road boundaries remain.
So the area in question, the easement in question is not the same area as the right-of-way that the county controlled, but in 2017 was added to that, or was it a portion of, it was overlaid. So this was part of the county right-of-way that was, so then why would you need an easement to protect a right-of-way?
They put this restriction on parking over the easement to ensure that access to the trail would remain. They didn't want parking.
Even though the right-of-way already existed?
Correct. It was unimproved at the time, I believe.
Yeah, so but the right-of-way, does that still, if that's the case, it was just overlaying the right-of-way, wouldn't the right-of-way still be the issue?
I don't think I quite follow your question.
So if the right-of-way guarantees public access, if the right-of-way covered this whole area, then wouldn't that be the action that would need to be taken to reduce the right-of-way? You wouldn't be able to use an easement to reduce a right-of-way, right?
They didn't reduce the right-of-way, I guess. Maybe
Okay.
I misspoke. They
expanded it.
They restricted parking on the right-of-way through
Got it.
an easement on the right-of-way itself.
Does this home have on-site parking at all?
It does not. And I should clarify, I do not believe this is the developer, the current owner. And in reviewing the property, I think the home was repositioned. I don't know the full details of it because it was
I
prior to.
understand, but how you wonder how did it get approved without required parking?
I think there's.
Oh, I'm sorry. It has required parking through the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does not require a driveway.
Hi, Council. Sergeant Tom Spratt with the Police Department. I've been involved in this property issue for several months, if not coming close to a year now, with the parking there. So there is garages for that building. The building, when was originally built, they gave up the rights to have on-street parking in exchange for the right to build, and that was because they planned on parking in the garages. The current owner bought it that way and does not have vehicles that fit in his garages. They're too big. These are relatively small garages. So he had been parking on the street, which is a public right-of-way, which was also posted as a fire lane. In addition, so there's the trail that goes along on the opposite side of the road from the house. And so there's a public access trail that's marked and designated. Then there's a 20-foot fire lane, which goes right up to his property line, so he cannot park in front of his house. He had been parking there as a new owner who didn't know, and neighbors brought that to our attention. We did the research on it and started doing enforcement of the fire lanes, which caused him to have to either figure a way to enlarge his garage to park in it because his cars, a couple of his cars are too big, or walk all the way the 150 plus feet, find parking up there in competition with the tourists and beachgoers and other residents to be able to access his home. We have been strictly enforcing this for several months, and we referred him to PTC and to other, the fire department to see if there's a way around those requirements. But that house does have on property parking through the garage system. And the fire lane there, if they do reduce it, it does present a potential problem of accessing that emergency egress, which turns into a dirt road right at the end of this gentleman's property. And that dirt road does provide that emergency egress. That's something that we were always concerned about. In the past, he has parked his cars there and blocked that egress and blocked any vehicles from getting down there. Since we started enforcement, he's been complying and been very cooperative to try and resolve this issue. So it's just up to the council on how we want to resolve the issue on that parking, but he cannot legally park in front of his house unless we make changes to the easement and the fire lane width. Thank you. Hope that clarifies a little.
Thank you. Pat, did you have something? You're just there in case? Providing air support, right?
So did you, Pat, did you have further insights on that, like the legislative history question of the, you know, the right of way versus the easement and kind of how this came to be?
I do not.
Okay.
I was just showing our esteemed director here the
Okay.
picture of the property.
I think Officer Spratt's testimony was very helpful. I mean, I'm just not inclined to approve it. You know, it's a garage that worked for a number of years. Doesn't work for this gentleman, but I don't, why should we give half the right of way to him to park in? I'm not inclined to support it.
Yeah, I agree with Bob. And also, you know, we've talked about a little bit this last council meeting on one of the appeals, but we have to start working on widening the road when we have new construction or more than a 50% remodel. We can't keep allowing all this encroachment into the roadway. It doesn't serve us well.
Okay, well, there's two opinions. You want to call for a motion, Bob?
Let's see what it would have to be. I would.
Wait, hold on one second, Alex.
Is there a way if it was just one, so it sounds like it's for two spaces. Is there a way? Because it seems like there's like several issues here. There's like the fire access issue, then there's the emergency access issue, then there's a coastal access issue. The coastal access issue, I think, is satisfied, you know, with this, right? And then the fire marshal saying the fire access issue is satisfied. And then so then the question is about emergency access. And so I guess that's sort of just my question that I'm throwing out there, is if there was a way to sort of achieve all three goals, you know, and in a way that doesn't undermine the public.
So what you're suggesting is somehow shrinking the easement to improve impact on the right of way, but also provide some opportunity for on-street parking. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, if there's a way to do that where it doesn't change, it doesn't, because I really feel like we need to understand the widths involved in what the emergency access would be.
So the question is do we attempt to do that this evening, or do we
Yeah, I don't
take
think
a
we should
vote
wait.
on this and turn it back to the applicant to come up with that solution based on
If
the
that
comment that
exists.
he's heard?
Yeah.
I'd prefer that approach if city staff feel that that is even a possibility worth pursuing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the applicant isn't here this evening, so obviously I don't speak on his behalf, but he has been cooperating with staff throughout the process. So I'd be happy to continue the dialogue and see if there's a way to maintain the full width of the right of way and for emergency access, if that's the will of the council.
Would we be better off than just continuing it as opposed to, we don't want to deny it.
Sorry, we were talking, Megan and I were talking about maybe one proposal that would involve a rediscussion with the property owner, maybe designated as red flag parking so that it would become part of our red flag bucket, and we'd make sure that that remained open during red flag days, red flag events, just like we do in other places. That could be one possibility.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, what Pat and I talked about a little bit today, but it's still us allowing him to park in half the right of way because his vehicles are too big. I mean, imagine that all over town, right? So I think Matt's, I think the suggestion of exploring with the property owner, what Alex is a good idea. Let's explore whether there's a way to either limit it to one space or eliminate it totally so that we have maintained the right of way. And if not, maybe staff comes back with, a recommendation on red flag parking or something. But I'm just not terribly sympathetic under the circumstances of the beautiful, Jeremy just showed me the beautiful 3-car garage there. I mean.
So our options are to deny or approve or to postpone?
Well, I'd move that we continue it and ask staff to investigate further. Alex, how did you articulate it?
If there's a solution that preserved, fire access, resident emergency access, as well as public access, which I think, fire access and public access have been, I think this solution before us solves, but it sounds like and I hear what people are saying. It sounds like this might not, it could potentially undermine, evacuation access. And so just seeing if there's a solution here that could, achieve not undermine any of those 3 goals.
Okay, so let's continue and ask staff to investigate, emergency access, evacuation, and see if there's a way to remove it out of the parking out of the right of way, or come back with an alternative proposal or a limited proposal on parking that might do some alternative like Dave was suggesting on red flag days. That would be my motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed as stated. Okay, we will come to consent calendar item number 9, Artist Work Live Unit Amendment to the Purchase and Sell Agreement for 2307, 2535 Laguna Canyon Road.
I asked that this be pulled, and I have no issue with the recommended action. We need to do it, but we have a number of representatives here tonight from the Community Land Trust, and I was hoping one of them might come up and just give a brief status. So we all, I think Mark and I have heard some of this because we're on the subcommittee, but maybe for the council as a whole to hear how things are progressing, and is the Land Trust seeing a clear pathway to close on this transaction?
Okay, then I will open public testimony on this item then. Sorry, I'm following the rules. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine Thalman, President, Community Land Trust. I think we were very optimistic about the January 6th closing date originally. And we have a team on the Land Trust that are very knowledgeable about real estate, property acquisition, due diligence. And so they've been doing their due diligence with several site visits. And we thought we could complete it within that time frame. Unfortunately, there were a couple of questions, some site visits, some of the owners were not there, so we couldn't see it. We had to come back. So it's just timing concerns, plus the holiday. We had the holiday, Christmas and New Year, so that's my only excuse. And thank you for the water, Councilmember Kev.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeff Randolph, 145 La Brea, a board member of the Community Land Trust. Holidays certainly affected things, but we've made a lot of good progress, a checklist. Our comments to all the documentation has been put in, and I think we're expecting some stuff back from Megan, and I hope you're feeling better. And we've gone through a lot of the due diligence items with the brokerage, with Will and the brokerage team, and have found, nothing not insurmountable, if you will, or we can't work out. So we have reviewed all the property reports, including environmental and construction inspection reports. We've toured the property a couple of times just to make sure we quantified what we needed to do in remediation for any kind of code ideas or something, because the property has been, is here for 20, 30 years now. We've also worked on, we have a property management company in place now. I think we're signing the contract tomorrow with a very top flight professional property management company will take over the management of the property. We have opened up our bank accounts. We have obviously put in our 501c3 requests with the IRS, but to circumvent pending that, we've also opened up a relationship with the Orange County Community Foundation. So we are now in a position and sign agreements with them to where anyone wants to make a donation to the land trust, they can do so and take the tax deduction. And we have what's called the donor advised fund there under our name. So we're actually in a position of operation. So we have our banking in place. We have our donation mechanism in place. We have our property management team in place. We're going through what we really need are some updated closing costs. And that's as the escrow, which is open at Fidelity, they gave us pro forma numbers the other day. They need to be fine tuned. We'll get those numbers. We're targeting a Feb 6 closing. At this juncture, I see no reason why we can't make that date. I see, nothing there. I think there were some issues on title and also survey with minor encroachments that I think their title is probably going to be able to wrap right around, but we'll figure those out. So at a property condition, property level report, I think we're in good shape. On an organization, we're in good shape. On a documentation, I think we're in good shape. I think we've agreed to everything in the purchase and sale document and so forth. So I'm feeling bullish that we'll meet the Feb 6 closing date on our side of the table.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any other speakers on this matter? Okay, I will close public testimony. Are there any other comments from council?
No, anything from staff? No. I'd move the recommended action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
I'm gonna talk about it. Yeah. So Mayor, we're ready to go on item 10?
Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
letting people rearrange a bit.
Okay.
So we can, so item number 10,
So yeah, I appreciate Adele being here, Adele Atkins with the Playhouse. Our couple of conversations Adele and I have had today and yesterday, and firstly, she's been very responsive in responding to my questions and kind of requests for ideas and concepts, but we feel like we need a little bit more time, a couple more weeks to hash out a couple more things. We want to make sure that people who might be renting the Playhouse under the new, community benefit concept will have a better understanding of what they have an opportunity to do and what additional costs might be and versus what costs are included in the base. And I just think we need to have that discussion a little bit more. Again, I really appreciate Adele's willingness to do this with us, and she was kind enough to agree to a continuance of 2 weeks so we could work on that. So that would be my recommendation, to continue it to the 27th meeting. Sorry, the meeting on January 27th.
thank you. Do we have any public testimony on this item? None, I'll bring it back to council. Any council comments?
No, I think it's wise to continue it. I think we'll be able to iron out a couple of last details that'll be good for both the city and the Playhouse and the community groups. So I'd support the continuance.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'd move I'd move that we continue item 10 to January 27th meeting.
Second.
Do we need a tiebreaker on that?
I'll admit, but she outranks me.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. That brings us to item number 11.
Tom, you're going to manage this on your own? Or do we need to? All right, I got the team. There we go. Great. This next item we're proud to bring forward. This is the award of contract for the Promenade construction, as well as the potential order of contract for the construction management. And we do have a presentation that we've been working on, especially to try to answer a couple of questions that have come up from folks, from residents as well as council members. So with that, I'll hand it over to Tom Perez.
Thank you, Dave, and good evening, Mayor Orgill and the rest of the council. Tom Perez, your city engineer, and with me I have Sarah Curran, who's principal with Somas Engineering, and also she's our PM for the civil design of the project. So she'll be assisting me with the presentation tonight. But as City Manager Kiff mentioned, we're excited to be here tonight to discuss the award of construction contracts for the Promenade permanent conversion. So just to speak briefly on the procurement process, on December 1st, the plans and bid documents were initially posted on Planet Bids, so that was out to the public. We held a mandatory pre-bid meeting at the site on December 11th, which required any potential bidders to be at the meeting. So we held the sign-in sheet and verified that all the 4 bidders we received were at the meeting. And so on December 23rd, we received 4 bids. And I listed those bids to the right. So Superb Engineering, GMZ Engineering, Griffith Company, and Green Building Corporation. And so there was a range of costs. So we reviewed that, verified the dollar amounts, the bids, and we determined that the Superb Engineering bid was responsive and that they were a responsible bidder. So with that, staff is tonight recommending an award of contract to Superb Engineering in the amount of just over $5.5 million. We also asked the City Council to authorize the city manager to approve change orders in an amount not to exceed $1.1 million. And those change orders are really geared towards unforeseen circumstances. So things as we're digging or doing otherwise, and we find that there's change conditions. So that's what that money is reserved for. It's not necessarily guaranteed to the contractor. In addition to doing the bid for the construction contractor, we posted an RFP for construction management and inspection services. So that was posted on November 25th. And on December 24th, we received 13 proposals. So it was a really good response there. Staff reviewed the proposals and we narrowed it down to the top 4. And on January 2nd and January 5th, we held interviews with those top 4 firms. Following that, we identified NextGen as the highest rated firm. They are led by Sarah Baker, who is the lead construction manager, also here in attendance tonight. Then our day-to-day person at the site doing inspection will be Andrew Squires. And then one of the things that really set them aside is they had a dedicated public outreach specialist, and she's listed here as Kimmy Azari. And so we're really committed in this process to work with not only the businesses, but everyone kind of affected in the area, just the general public, the businesses, residents, and so on and so forth. So that was really critical in addition to the skills of the other staff mentioned. Also, I think it's worth noting that NextGen is a City of Laguna Beach-based company, and we felt through the interview they demonstrated just a strong ownership and really kind of blew us away in the interview. So we're excited to have them on the team, and with that, we're recommending award of contract not to exceed $340,000, and also to authorize the city manager to approve any change orders in amount not to exceed $34,000.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. Threw me a little. With those procurement processes, we also, as we were moving through finalizing the project, we do as staff work to ensure that we're satisfying all the conditions of approval that were placed on the project. So one in particular that we wanted to discuss tonight and just share with council how it was addressed is condition 14, which is really focused on the floodplain management and requirements for doing work within the floodway and the floodplain. So as shown on the screen here, the red color is the floodway, the cyan blue, light blue is the floodplain. And so you'll notice a small corner of the project is within the floodway, which triggered the condition 14. And so condition 14 requiring the city to demonstrate compliance with the FEMA and city floodplain regulations. And so with that, we wanted to discuss what does demonstrate compliance mean and how are we addressing that? So on the FEMA level, the no-rise certification is required, and it's required to be supported by technical data and signed by a registered PE. And that's where SOMAS comes into play. They were our lead engineer, and they performed that. And I'll just shortly be turning that over to Sarah to discuss. In addition, it does require that the technical data be based on the 100-year floodway as shown in the map here. So this is the same map with different colors, different shapes, but that is what is required to demonstrate a compliance. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Sarah for some further discussion.
Good evening. As Tom mentioned, my name is Sarah Curran. I work for SOMAS, and we're the consulting civil engineer on this project. So I've managed the project. I'm also the civil engineer of record. I'll just provide a brief overview of the steps that we took to prepare the no-rise study. First, we requested the effective model from FEMA, which they provided. Their model was from 2006, which, was 20 years ago. And so kind of different processes that they had then. It only provided one cross-section through our site. So in order to have a more representative model, we created an existing conditions model. We expanded on theirs based on the survey information that we obtained as part of the project, as well as LiDAR information. And then we prepared a proposed conditions model based on our grading plans for the project. So then we used a program called HECRAS to run, simulate the models and compare the base flood elevation between the existing and proposed condition. The table up here shows the results of that study. And to summarize, the water surface elevations remain at or below the effective model from the existing condition. as Tom mentioned, the city has floodplain regulations. The first bullet point here has to do with the no-rise certification, and that the product shall not result in any increase in flood levels during the occurrence of the base flood discharge. That was demonstrated in the no-rise study, which we just talked about. The second one here provides that the development shall provide adequate drainage to reduce exposure to flood hazards. We also prepared a hydrology and hydraulics study based on the Orange County Hydrology Manual and demonstrated that the project would not change the drainage conditions in a negative way. If anything, we anticipate that the conditions will improve somewhat, just due to the regrading that we're doing, providing more positive drainage to catch basins and inlets. We're providing some underground storage in the form of storm drains and water quality BMPs to treat the stormwater.
So I'm sorry, to move on with the financial analysis for the project. So our budget had approximately $2.8 million programmed or earmarked for the Forest Promenade, which leaves us with a supplemental funding need of approximately $4.4 million. So what we did as staff is we went and we examined our existing CIP projects to determine which projects were either inactive or were not ready for construction, say in this fiscal year. And so with that, we identified 4 projects, and we proposed pulling funding from those 4 projects in order to fully fund the promenade today. And then in future CIPs, we would replenish the money in those projects as needed. So it's a mechanism to ensure we can move forward with construction today. With that, we also we didn't just take the bid and say this is good and run with it. We had also had a independent construction cost estimate prepared by Kerry Stump. And when we received that, he was estimating approximately $6.9 million for construction, with another $1.1 million in the soft costs for a total project cost of $8 million. So comparing that to our bid price and our soft costs, we felt we were right in line with that. So we felt confident with the bids and the professional services costs that we received. Wanted to just touch real briefly on what businesses and residents can expect during the construction phase of the project. We do anticipate that following, if council determines tonight to award the construction contract, it would take us approximately a month to get contracts signed, get bonds and insurance, those types of things, to where we would see construction starting approximately a month from now. And so when that happens, as I mentioned, NextGen would be the primary project contact. So Sarah and her team would be on the job. They'd be working directly with the contractor, directly with the businesses, residents, myself. So that would be the model. And she will be working to troubleshoot, address any concerns from businesses, minimize impacts, hold the contractor to what the contract requires, and just overall ensure that the city is getting what we paid for. One of the other things that again, NextGen showed really well is they offered to assist the city in setting up a hotline and frequently ask questions, maintaining those updates, making sure to track call logs and really ensure people are getting their questions answered and addressed. Key thing in order to be ready for construction and to allow for construction, we will be suspending the outdoor dining. So anticipate that to occur at the end of January, and then it would resume following the completion of construction. But then touching on the contractor's requirements, and these I think are key. The contractor in his contract is required to maintain pedestrian access through the promenade and into all of the businesses. So with that, we anticipate that we will require some night work. So for instance, when we're doing demo and maybe pouring concrete in front of front doors, that's work that may need to occur at night in order to accommodate the business and access into the business. We're also requiring them to provide a pedestrian access plan. And on that plan, they will need to demonstrate how they will provide adequate signage, directing people how to walk through the promenade safely, how to get from one side to the other. And so those are critical in addition to just building the project. They are required to really work with our residents, our businesses in the area, and minimize construction to the extent possible. So with that, tonight, our recommended actions include the award of construction contract to Superb Engineering, the award of contract to NextGen for construction management and inspection services, to approve or authorize the city manager to approve the $1.1 million in contingency, and to approve the transfer of the $4.4 million from existing CIP accounts to the Promenade account, and to find the proposed actions statutorily exempt under the CEQA. With that, I will conclude my presentation and be available for questions.
Thank you. Very thorough. Thank you very much. Are there any
Thank you.
questions?
I have a comment. So, Tom, yesterday at our weekly status meeting, we talked, I see Dave Rubel's here. We talked about meeting with the business owners next week, right?
Yes.
But we haven't notified them of the date. We were waiting for after this meeting.
Right, that would be like my first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to be notifying the business owners of the date and time that we're going to be meeting. We're going to meet on down on the promenade, right?
Correct.
It'd be good if is that you, Sarah? Yeah, yes. You're the Sarah without the H. We have two Sarah. Yeah. So, well, can we have Sarah there too?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Both Sarahs?
I don't see any.
Just-
Yeah,
okay,
we'll
okay.
discuss that. And we're having our internal team meeting on Friday, and
Yeah.
we can flesh that
Yeah,
out
yeah,
as well.
okay. I just wanted to give Dave some assurances that we're not just gonna go off on our merry way here. Okay.
Other questions? I have a quick question. So Tom, on the change order amount, can you tell us what the average, just for the benefit of the residents, what the average would be percentage-wise of a project of this nature?
As far as what the contingency is?
Yeah, the
So
contingency.
on this project, we were requesting a 20% contingency. Oftentimes that amount can range from, we typically go in increments of 5, so it could be 10, 15, or 20. So in engaging that, we've looked at this project, and because we are moving aggressively through, we provided a higher contingency to allow for any of those unforeseen conditions. So this is on the higher end, but again, it is not, it's reserved for use only for unforeseens or changed items. It would not be used to add like out of scope issues.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, note too, is Tom saying, when we had the estimator do the estimate work earlier on this year, he was proposing a 16.5% contingency, which is what he believed was appropriate, as well as 20, because of anytime you're digging in the ground, you're never quite sure what you're going to see, what conditions you're going to see. So to me, this made sense when Tom and Mark requested that.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
I just have a question, I think, for you. I'm not an engineer, so what you're basically saying, and according to your professional opinion, is that in a 100-year storm, the impact to the promenade is going to be slightly improved with this project.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's shown in the table that it shows slight lowering of the
Right.
elevation.
Right. And that's required. We're required to not make it worse in a 100-year storm. And what your analysis showed is that it's going to have a marginal slight impact for the better. Okay. Thank you.
sort of a process question and relates to the contingency question that Mark asked. So typically the construction manager would review like the bids and kind of work through them with the contractor before beginning. Is that the plan here, where they would review this before the city manager signs it? And just talk through like where the areas where the cost could be higher and really make sure that they have a full understanding of the assumptions. And that way, when change orders are requested later, there's sort of more protection for the city's interests. Did that happen? I'm assuming that didn't happen here, right? Because we're doing this concurrently.
Yeah, and I'll point out under public contracting rules, the construction cost is not negotiated. However, that being said, we do a comprehensive review to see if there's areas where, like, for instance, we feel it's an unbalanced bid, and that's part of the typical review. But what we are doing with this project, and when it comes to change orders, the model on this project would be Sarah and her team. Typically, it starts with the inspector in the field working with the contractor, identifying before they continue with any potential change order work. We agree that we will track it as a potential change order. Then with that, the construction manager would work and really examine the changes, identify if the contract covers it, whether it's a change or not, and then they would make a recommendation to me to approve that. And every change order essentially is negotiated.
Thank you.
There is language in the plans that gives us a bit of protection. I'm trying to remember what it is right now. Evan, would it be appropriate to ask Evan to give us that language? Evan, can you come forward? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mock-ups.
Correct.
Yes, just project mock-ups. Within our drawing package, we have a language that allows us and allows Tom and the rest of the team to review each individual detail, and then ultimately we would approve it or reject it based on the quality of that per said mock-up.
Right. So I think that was important because that means they can't bring something forward that they claim is just like on their own, right? It has to receive approval, and then they have to go through a mock-up process. And if it's not accepted, we have the exclusive right to deny it.
Right, and I will add on, the way the bid document is set up, we had over 100 line items, and each one of those line items has a short paragraph describing exactly what that item of work covers, and that's kind of our go-to or our fallback, really is what is in the specifications and on the plans itself.
Any other questions? I'll open public testimony. Are there any comments on this item?
Good evening, Mary Locatelli. I guess it's safe to say this project has been somewhat controversial since it started, and I won't belabor the past, but I would like to summarize some overall questions. First of all, one could ask, is this project supported by the community? And I would say there's really no way to know without putting it to a vote, and the council decided not to do that, so we may never know, but the potential lack of broad public support makes the next couple of questions more important. Secondly, is this the best use of the city money? As residents, we discovered tonight that 2.8 million estimated price tag has become 7.3 million. And the city plans to approve the project tonight without discussion of how this fits in with other city spending priorities. So this potentially also falls into the category of something that has not been widely discussed with the community and therefore may or may not have broad public support. As Diane Armitage, a popular Laguna writer and global marketing guru, has said, this is a lot of money to spend to revitalize one half of one block of the city's downtown area. And that's before she knew what the new price tag was. So finally, and I think this is something that we're addressing tonight, the question should be, has the city really done all it can to limit the potential legal liability for future and current residents? we now know that the promenade is partly in a floodplain and partly in a floodway. And so the failure to get this right exposes the city to potential future liability for property damage related to flood claims. The history of how this flood issue has been handled has been kind of a long and winding road. And I think we've got some answers tonight, but I think there's some things that we could do to strengthen the case and provide residents with some additional assurances. The council in the municipal code has a regulatory duty to, quote, to help protect the citizens from flooding. So to provide maximum legal protection for current and future residents from potential legal liability and expense, I would suggest that this contract not be formally approved until, first of all, the results of the engineering report are made available to the public with sufficient time for public review, much as was done when the 25-year SOMA study was completed. As we often say, there are a lot of smart people in this community. I'm not one of them. I can look at the engineering report and tell you whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. But there are a lot of people who could, and I would suggest that we give them that opportunity. Secondly, and I'm not sure, some people say yes, some people say no, that the report is going to be certified by a registered civil engineer employed by the outside contractor, not internally by the city's floodplain administrator. I think that would help. And finally, I would suggest that perhaps we consider an independent legal opinion that the city has satisfactorily met all of its legal obligations to the residents. Not because we don't trust Megan, because we do, but to provide Megan with some additional assurances should the need ever arise. Thank you, and thank you for giving me some extra time.
Thank you.
Hey, Carrie Reynolds, Global Marketing Specialist, Retail. I know that this has been a 5-year test. It's been a fabulous tested project, and there's a lot of support in the community for this to happen. It's time, and we appreciate the contract looks great, and there doesn't seem to be anything holding us back. So let's get rolling.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I will close public testimony and bring it back to council. Any other comments from council?
Just a little bit to follow up on one of Mary's comments, and I've had some conversation with staff about this. As I understand it, I don't know if the report's fully prepared by SOMAS yet, the calculations have been made, but the permit doesn't get issued until the floodplain administrator, who's Matt Schneider, has a chance to review it, and then that has to happen before construction. So can you lay out a little bit for us, Tom, the timeline of between now and when the floodplain administrator would issue the permit?
Yeah, so to build off of that a little, I think Councilmember Whalen, you're right on. So the technical report will be signed and stamped by either Sarah or one of the engineers at SOMAS. So they will be the engineers signing and stamping the actual study. However, the floodplain administrator, the city staff, Matt Schneider, will be the one, or his staff, to review and issue the floodplain permit. So that's the separation there. And that's expected, again, that should be happening. We have that report in our possession, and it would be submitted really at this point sometime this week. And then we have that month period to where we would not be putting a shovel into the ground until we had that approved.
Okay, and the report's available to the public, obviously, right?
Yeah, I think right now we were just making some final review comments on it, but once we have that, with the engineer stamp, I'd be happy to place that on our project page.
Okay, and then lastly, and I think this was clear because the municipal code requires it, but the written certification will be made by SOMAS as part of the package, right? The certification will be made, and then that's what the floodplain administrator reviews and relies on.
Correct. There is a permit application form, and that would include, we would submit that along with the project plans and the report.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have a comment, Hallie?
Yeah, first of all, that was a great presentation. So thank you for putting so much detail into it. It was really helpful. I have had two concerns throughout this project, flooding being one of them. So thank you for alleviating my concerns on that. And then working with the businesses that are located on Forest to make sure that we make this as easy and quick as possible for them. So I would hope that as part of this process, we're not just informing the business owners, but we're actually accepting their input, looking for their guidance and their help. They know this street, they know what their businesses need. So getting that input to try to make this process as painless as possible.
Thank you. Sue? Alex?
Yeah.
So I think we have a pretty good situation here. I mean, we got a good bid. I think we have a good contractor. We're going to have, SWA right there on Glen Eyrie. We'll have Next Gen on Broadway. We have Tom as the oversight. Then Mark and I will probably be, knowing Mark and I probably be down there every day, kind of watching what's going on. In terms of preparing which will drive everybody nuts, no doubt. But in terms of preparing, the businesses, we plan to do a pretty thorough job. So we're going to meet with Sarah first, kind of go through everything, and then talk to the business owners. But we want to be really clear that to the extent that we possibly can, we want to make it as easy for the businesses as possible to stay open and do well. It's going to be challenging. Hopefully we'll get some good weather. I think the weather is going to be more the mitigating factor, but I'm not going to really address Mary's comments and relitigate the promenade, but I think, we never thought 2.7 million was going to be it. That was just a placeholder that we had in our budget. So anyway, I think it's going to be a good project, and I'm looking forward to it.
Alex?
Yeah, I agree with the comments by my colleagues. I think this is thoughtfully done. It's exciting that this will be done before summer. I echo the comments by my colleagues about the businesses. I was involved when OCTA was doing the streetcar in Santa Ana, and it was sort of just a case study on how not to do outreach. There was no transparency about what was going on. The poor vendors in Santa Ana were just totally on their own. And based on everything that I know, I don't think that's going to happen here. I think that we have, a construction manager who's local and clearly has a vested interest in this by just being, based in the community. But we also have Mark and Sue involved, and I really appreciate the time that they put into this and really the work that they've done to collaborate with all the stakeholders involved. And I expect that will continue. And, my hope would be that every, business, there's not any surprises about what's happening as this moves forward. And I think that's what's going to happen. And then, number two, I think flooding is a huge issue. This project is not going to worsen that issue. I think what we should have done is the channel project that was proposed in the early 2000s, fully funded, but that was rejected by this council at the time. I think we need to look at longer term solutions to how we deal with flooding in the canyon and in the downtown, because I think with climate change and just other factors, I think that's going to be something that will be a risk going forward. But this project is not going to worsen that risk. That's a longer term conversation. And as it sounds like they're going to meet the requirements as per our city code related to the floodplain administrator approving this. So I'm very excited about next steps. I think this is a vision, an example of us really investing in our future. And so I'm looking forward to the grand opening in, I guess, June.
Thank you. The topic of the outreach is an ongoing conversation, as Sue mentioned and Tom mentioned. We have a meeting coming up. We've had conversations with staff about the website and all of the information on the website, along with a personal contact person, as Tom alluded to. There's actually a person, part of the team, that will be handling, one-on-one outreach and comments. With that said, a project of this nature, there is going to be some tension involved. There always is. It's unavoidable. But the question is how well you manage it. And I can, tell you from my perspective that we're going to do everything that we can to manage it. And I have the full, I really appreciate everything that Public Works has put into this. And, you know, SOMAS, there's some questions on the floodplain and around that, but a company of the magnitude of SOMAS and with their reputation, they don't just stamp these things lightly. This is serious business, and they're the ones who have conducted this work, and I have all of the faith in their ability to, as thorough as they've been with the floodplain analysis. So I appreciate the whole team's work. This has been amazing, and I just can't thank you guys enough. Thank you very much. So I'll bring it back to council and see if we have a motion.
I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks both Sarahs.
Yeah, thank
Looking forward to working with you.
and two.
It looks like Mark and Pierre, we have a completed vote. Okay. So just for the public at home, this is a return from earlier this evening, not too far earlier, about counting the ballots for the Fairview La Brea Assessment District.
Wow. Good evening again, City Council. Back with the results from the balloting for Fairview La Brea. In total, 77 votes were cast in the ballot box. After going through and tallying all the votes, 3 were declared null, meaning they were incomplete and cannot be counted toward the final vote. With that being said, 59 voted yes, 15 voted no. The total dollar amounts are shown on the right column. And then percentage-wise, the yes votes were 82% versus 18% for the no votes. So as shown, there is a weighted majority in support of the district.
Great.
Yeah, I think this has got to be the highest yes percentage that I've seen in all the years. So
Yeah, I agree.
must be that international marketing expert, I guess. There's something to do with it.
Retail, even retail. So she's branching out.
So, Madam Council, do we open public comment on this item again?
No, Mr. Mayor, we already took public comment earlier.
I wasn't sure if we
Yep,
opened it
We don't
again.
have to do it again. This is a continuation of the same
Okay.
item.
So we'll just,
Oh,
go ahead.
I'm still impressed by 82%. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. So we'll just make a motion, I guess, and is what's required.
Just one question. I was looking for the full parcel count, but how many total parcels? How many?
In this district, there are 90 total accessible parcels.
And we had how many cast? It was
77 cast, 3 were incomplete, so
80.
74 valid ballots.
Great. Thank you.
Do we need to put up the slide with the recommended actions again? Maybe just so everybody's clear on those. There's a lot of them, as you guys know.
I think we should look at it. I think it's just moving recommendation 6 at this point as amended with the resolution language as amended, but wait for Pierre. City Attorney, Madam City Attorney agrees. We just need to move item 6, I think is all that's left. Is that right?
Correct, Councilmember, with as you noted, with your proposed changes that were reflected earlier in the slide deck.
So I would just move recommendation 6 with the language in the resolutions amended as described previously in the staff report.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I think we're done.
Council member items.
I just got excited. I saw the clock. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You'll be talking to yourself there, Mayor.
I have some items, but I think, Dave, I can bring that forward at the strategic planning meeting. Okay, so I'll just bring them forward then.
You sure?
Yeah.
Any other council items to bring forward?
Because we're all here, do you mind if we start that meeting at 8:30 that day? That's that Friday. We can start earlier or yeah, I think so. Right, unless you hear otherwise, it'll be 8:30, so members of the public too. January 30th, which is a Friday. We'll have snacks.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
In here, yeah. Folks can watch at home.